Today we're gonna take a look what's inside my camera bag 2023. Let's go. Okay, so kind of. My camera bag is empty. That's because 90% of the time I keep all of my cameras and all my lenses and stuff in my Pelican case. This one right here. I'm also gonna tell you why I use the case and why I'm gonna use the bag. So let's do it. So why do I keep everything in my case? The quick answer is protection and ease of use, because I could just grab the case and whenever I went out somewhere, I could open the case up and just pick things that I needed for them. And then I can do it, throw it all back and drive home. So that was very fast, very easy. However, over the last year I have started to bring out my case and bring my bag, and then when I went to a place I would take out all the stuff that I thought I would need and put it over to my bag, and then I would bring my bag out to wherever I had to go. And then of course after that I had to go back with my bag, throw everything back in the case, drive home. And because I've been doing that so much lately, I have just been thinking that I need to pack my bag with the things that I know I'm gonna use, and then keep everything else in my case so that I could go in and get that if something ever happens to the bag at some point. The first thing is my main shooting horse. It is this Sony a6500. I've been using this one for around 3 years now. It's great, still works fine. It does everything I need. So this is the main one I shoot on. It has been through around 60 or 70 weddings, I think, at this point. The next one is actually my first semi-professional camera. It is my a6300. I got this one back in 2016, 17, I think. This one is actually the reason why I still shoot Sony. I had about $1,000 to spend on a camera back then. I looked at the Canon 80D and I looked at this one. And for the price, the specs on this one was way superior back then. And I haven't had any problems that would be like needing to change the brand. So this still works fine. It has been to all basically 100 weddings I have been to. All my product photography and all my landscapes. I pretty much always have this camera with me. It is also the camera I bring with me when I travel. Simply because even if something happens to it, it's so old now, it doesn't really matter that much to me. One of the main reasons why I still use the APS-C cameras is because if I'm out shooting 9 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours in a day, I can't be bothered to run around with a full frame, big chunky camera with big chunky lenses. And there's also a point against the big case because it's just too big to lodge around. The next one is this. This is the kit lens I got with the a6300 when I bought that. Still have it in my bag. Basically I'd never used this one. I only have it because if something were to happen to every other lens, it is nice to have this one just as a backup. And I mean, look at this. It is not very big. I can easily just throw it down there and keep it with me at all times. The next one, Meike 35. It's a fully manual lens for APS-C sensors. Again, it's one of the first lenses I got, so I rarely use it anymore. It's still just here as a backup, but I don't really use it now. Then we're going to the next one. This is my Sony G18-105 f4. I've used this one for 90% of my work. I love how you can just zoom out to get a wide angle. It's 24 on an APS-C camera, all the way into 160mm, and it's f4, so it's also very good with video. And yeah, I love the images. This is just an all-around great lens. Still use it a lot, but lately it has been overtaken by this one, the Tamron 28-75mm 2.8. It is also a very good lens. It allows way more light to get in, and it got some great in-body stabilization. And yeah, that's basically it. It's just an upgraded version of my Sony without having to go for the Sony G-Master. And now that brings us to my favorite lens. It's the Sony 85-1.8. And the reason why I didn't go for the Sony 85-1.4 is simply because I don't really see the difference in the image quality, and I think f8 is plenty bright enough. It's just solid, it's amazing for portraits, And this one will definitely stay in my bag. Then I also have a Sony a6100, which I'm filming on right now, with a Sigma 16 1.4 right there. Those are also usually in here, but I'm shooting on them, so you know. Moving on to these things. These are the newer macro tubes, which basically just turns any of your lenses into macro lenses. They're cheap and they work perfectly fine. Just make sure to get the ones with these, so you can still change the aperture and your autofocus and so on. Then I have one of these. This is just a Manfrotto small tripod. It is just nice to place a light on or to keep my camera on if I need to place it down at a lower place, or if I'm shooting video. This is just a nice extra grip to move around with. Down the corner here I have the Sony 28mm f2. This is just, again, to make sure that I have extras if something happens to any of the other ones, but I rarely actually use this one. Then I have the Godox Speedlight V860 Mark II S. This one is great just to add some more lights at your scene. If I'm at a wedding, I set it up in the background, shooting up in the ceiling, or if I'm shooting products, I can just move around with this one and change the lights very fast. With it I also have this one, the X1T from Godox as well. And it's simply just to use the camera with my speed lights and my other flashes. Then I also have some cards, and they're simply there to just hand out to people if they're asking for it. So then I also carry around my GoPro. This is the GoPro Hero 8 Black Edition. I use this one mostly for time-lapse. Then I also have all my camera batteries, and I have this one to carry all my SD cards to make sure nothing happens to these. So what am I gonna put in the bag? Well, I'm gonna start with the obvious. I'm gonna put in my a6500. I'm also gonna put in the a6300. Basically always use two cameras at once, that way I don't have to change the lenses as often. Which also means that my 85 is definitely going in, and my Tamron 28 to 75 is going in. I also know I'm gonna need to keep my SD cards and the extra camera batteries. And I don't think I can live without the macro tubes. I use them for so much stuff. And of course my speedlight set. These are the things that I can see that I'm gonna use the most in the coming year. If my needs change during the year, I will of course just switch in, switch out, whatever I need. So that is what is gonna be in my camera bag. It is looking to be a great year and I can't wait to get started.